YNOTT Foundation. And we just want to talk to you.
Somebody's sister, a brother, father, a mother, a wife or a husband, a nephew, a cousin. They're looking for a little bit of love, hey. Somebody show them some love, hey. Why not you?
Why not? Why not? Why not?
Why not you?
Why not? Why not?
Why not you?
This is the YNOTT crew, and all we asking is why not you? Come with the why not you? And on this occasion, give one donation, and you may not receive a standing ovation. Nah, your reward is so much better than that. No matter the black can replace the feeling of giving a second chance in life. The only second chance's price is your commitment. Man, it's your compassion. You can come and give it, there's no special form of fashion. Giving a child another chance to smile, just imagine. Or you can try not to. But if you see it, I'm asking why not.
Somebody's sister, a brother, father, a mother, a wife or a husband, a nephew.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Why Not Inspire show, where we inspire and uplift individuals to achieve their dreams and goals. This broadcast is brought to you by the YNOTT Foundation, whose mission is to provide support to pediatric transplant patients, increase awareness about the need for organ and tissue donation, and promote disease prevention and wellness in the community. Welcome to the start of our countdown of serving communities around the country for 16 years. Each month, we will interview with someone that's played a part in the start of this organization, the evolution of this organization, and the continual running of this organization. This countdown will start from the month of March till the month of September, where we celebrate 16 years of serving pre- and post-transplant patients and their families around the country. I'm Philip Jones, your host for today, standing in for our normal host, Edward Mr. YNOTT Drake. I'm a California representative and community outreach coordinator for the YNOTT Foundation, as well as the CEO and founder of A Second Chance. So today we have a fun, action-packed show in store for you all today. We have two special guests, and when I say special, I do mean special. But first, I would like to ask Nathan to provide the inspirational quote of the day and explain why he chose that quote. Have at it, Nathan.
Today's quote is, "Comparison is the thief of joy." I chose this quote it reminds me of whenever you might not be going through the greatest patch of life and you see someone else living, their best life, or it might look like they're doing way better. To kind of keep that in mind, that comparison will kind of lead you down a path of not having joy in your own life, and you have to find joy in the journey of your life and not be jealous of other people and where they are in their experience, because everyone's journey is different and it takes different steps for people to get to where they are going to end up. So always take your time and always focus on yourself.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Nathan. So let's start off with Nathan's bio. So Nathan is a senior in high school. He will be attending Baldwin-Wallace in the fall. He is a kidney transplant recipient of 16 years from his mother. At college, he will be studying sports management and psychology with hopes of becoming a basketball coach. Anthony McFee is a two-time kidney transplant recipient that attends Ashland University as a theater and business administration major. He hopes to get a great career in the film industry as a writer, filmmaker, and actor, and help others battling kidney disease. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today. Greatly appreciate you. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having us on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Awesome. So a number of these questions will really go towards the both of you. So we can always, in answering order, start with Nathan and then go to Anthony. And then there's a couple of questions in here that will be for you individually, and I'll make that known. So my first question for you two is, what was your original diagnosis of kidney failure?
I had spastic kidney failure, and I think one was completely failed, and the other was working at like 9 or 10%. So I needed a kidney transplant, but from birth I needed a kidney transplant, but I was too young and like too small as a baby, so I had to wait till I was 2 years old. So I would be like roughly around 100 pounds. So that's when I had my transplant. But yeah, until then I was on dialysis.
For me, I was just born with it. I was born with chronic kidney disease from birth. I was born with only one kidney. The other one didn't form. So so I was on dialysis up until I was 5. My kidney didn't really fail until around like 3. So I was 2 years after that, got 5. And then once I turned 5, going on 6, I got my first transplant.
Awesome, awesome. So my next question for you is: so, how was going through school for you? I know you both just said you did dialysis. So, what kind of dialysis did you do?
Me personally, I'm fortunate to be done when I was 2. So basically for the entirety of my like conscious life, I was with the kidney transplant. So I do not remember my dialysis days, but I guess dealing with the kidney transplant in school, um, it had its challenges, especially I would say kind of earlier on in life, where I would have to miss early days for like labs and doctor's appointments. Now it's kind of something that's just a normal routine. I go in the labs before school, and then I go to the doctor's appointments usually after school. So now it kind of doesn't really conflict. But I think it was a little bit not worse, but it was different when I was younger, just because it was so close from when I first had the transplant that I was a little bit more monitored. So I was more kind I had to do more than what I had to do now. So I'm very fortunate that now I still have to do stuff, but now I'm a little bit more free from it. But it's different, and I'm very fortunate.
For me, I would say school was a little bit of a challenge for me because I did hemodialysis. So I was only going to school 2 days a week. So most of my formative years in elementary school was in the hospital. So I would be like homeschooled and had a lot of tutors come in and out to help me with my studies. And then and then I I luckily still had like friends once I went back to school because going 2 days a week was not it's not really a grace period on building relationships. It doesn't really teach you all that much. Um, and it's still I guess it was still a struggle even after I got my second transplant because the first one had complications, so even then I couldn't go to school all the time. And then my second one, my immune system was so bad, like getting because it was in the beginning stages of transplant, that I just had to miss school for some more, and then had like reflux, so they had to solve that through like middle school and cathing and stuff like that. So that was a little rough to like bring to friends' houses and go like, hey, I got a Foley here, like I'm sorry, um I have to have this at night. Yeah, so it wasn't interesting. It kind of let up a little bit as I got into high school and college. It, college is college, so a lot more freedom. But labs never really conflicted. I always did it on the weekends before, like really early on the weekends. Doctor's appointments would conflict sometimes. College, it doesn't really bother much now, but I still have to make sure that like everything is good, like medication, and make sure that I'm getting all my medication, and then building on the knowledge that I have about my illness, but now has to be more on it because I'm an adult now. But yeah, there's challenges in every phase of my education when it comes to kidney disease, but it has gotten better.
So let me ask you this: you talked about only going to school 2 days a week. Seeing that you go to school pretty much every day of the week now, Do you think that it was harder learning in that environment than it is now? Seeing how, like I said, you only going to school 2 days a week, so you miss a lot of stuff teachers go over. And I also want to ask you is how did you make that work? I mean, because you were the one who talked to the patients at the dialysis center when I did the toy drop off for the foundation, and it was that one young lady. She's like, I'm not in school because I go to dialysis 3 times a week. She has to be homeschooled as opposed to going to
Yeah.
school two times a week. So how did you manage to make that work compared to some other people?
Well, how I made it work, which kind of sucks, sometimes, is because we would have to talk to my teachers beforehand. So my
Mm,
teachers would give me like the amount of work that they would be doing within the full week of school. Then, like, when I came back on Tuesday or whatever, and tell me to get it done by like the week next week. So I would like have like a lot of assignments due that I would have to be doing during dialysis or during whatever, and
right.
then turn it in by next week if they were nice. Some teachers were like, get it done by Thursday, and like that wasn't possible. But because I just some professors kind of understood and some teachers didn't. In high school, that wasn't really much of an issue, and neither in middle school because I had my transplant. But what I've been noticing is that the stuff from my elementary school still affected my middle school and high school and now college kind of career because of stuff that I probably would have learned about my studying habits and everything else sooner. I'm learning now. So it was, yeah. But that's how I
Yeah,
handled it when we did it. So yeah.
right. So let me mention this. We'll say still in the school aspect of things. Um, so for Anthony, with your kidney failing, um, while you were in school and then you having to miss school, I'm sure there were a lot of questions from friends and why are you missing school and stuff like that. I know because I had to deal with that when I had my transplant at 17. I showed up at graduation. It was like, where you been? And so and then for Nathan, um, what do you have conversations about your kidney disease and stuff like that with your friends? Like, and then for both of you, how did they receive that information and how did they take it?
I guess I'll go. Well, I was very fortunate. The community that I live in, everyone's very like accepting and very nice. And I'm also pretty open about my kidney disease and my kidney transplant, just because as I've gotten older, it helps to kind of inform other people. Especially it's a big part of, signing up to be a donor when you get your driver's license. But I'm freely open to talk about it, which I think has helped the people that are not only my friends but around me every day kind of understand it. I do get a few. I'll get some questions and stuff, but I think everyone's understanding, and I think even from a younger age, like I would like my anniversary day, my mom would have me like bring in like treats for the kids in the class, and I remember from a younger age I'd like tell the kids why and like how it happened, and I think
Right.
that's kind of helped the people around me understand it. And then I think it's different now in high school because being a senior or like being a freshman when I was younger, you're so used to informing and talking to people when they're in the same age group as you. So there's some people below me or were above me that didn't know, that were not confused, but they were kind of shocked to find out. So I had to tell them a little bit and kind of inform them. But I think once people really kind of got informed and asked me, I think it was really easy to make connections and kind of for people to understand. So I think really if you know someone or if you have any questions about it, you should reach out because I don't know. For in my case, I'm pretty freely and open to talk about it just for the awareness of it.
Yeah. I know at least for me, I think my friends were basically okay with it. It didn't really catch them off guard, but they grew up with me. So it wasn't like, and I grew up in a small town, so everybody kind of knew everybody. So it wasn't like a big deal. But, well, like, people showed their support when I was like in the hospital and everything, but they weren't like shocked when I was like missing school because when they first met me, I was missing school anyway for dialysis. So that's they kind of got used to it. But I would say, I guess it was different for adults than kids. Like, I guess you couldn't really hide it anyway. We have scars everywhere. So when I would be going swimming, kids would be like, I remember like similar age, young kids would just be asking out of curiosity, not to be like harming or anything, but they would be like, "What's that scar for?" or whatever. But but then there's like, but it's different coming from like being young and then having adults know because they kind of treat you a totally different way. Like older people kind of treat you a totally different way. Like not out of that they don't care, it's because they care, but they kind of treat you like you're a little bit more fragile than most because
Right.
you are to a
Mm.
certain extent. But I guess now like I've always been open about it. Like I went when my mom and my dad were doing nursing school stuff and they got to the kidney section of their class. Guess who they brought in? Me. Yeah, they brought in me to show like I guess because it makes a difference to have a face talk about their experience of kidney disease instead of just reading it in a book.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, I just talked about it. I even talked about it with my nursing friends on campus because they got to their kidney section and I just was like, well, I have kidney stuff. And they're like, what, really? I was like, you would never know. I was like, yeah, but not really. But yeah, so it's like people know. It's not like I'm ever closed off on it. So yeah, so I just inform and everything. And it kind of helps me as just a patient because when I was younger, I kind of just wanted to. I was open about it because I felt like I had to be open about it, but I also wanted to be avoidant of it to be normal as possible. So,
Right, right. No, I definitely understand that 100%. And it's good when you're making those transitions and your friends are supportive of you. I at a young age realized that kids laugh at stuff they don't understand, and that may not be true for all kids, but for most kids, at least the kids that I grew up around, um, that was true. So for me, again, like I said, early on in life, I understood that. So uh, what I didn't want was people laugh at me because I'm sick. So I kept that to myself. I didn't really start disclosing to people until I got to college. And then that's when I was like, all right, I think it may be time for me to start telling certain, at least the people that I'm around consistently on campus or, on the team with or whatever, what my situation is. My football coaches and my track coach, they all knew my situation, especially in college because I grew up around those people. Um, and so they all knew my situation. So I didn't have to really talk to them about it. But um, so yeah. So uh and this question is specifically for you. What was your reasoning for your first kidney rejection, if we can ask?
yeah. So the reason for my first kidney rejection was basically my my kidney just didn't work from out of the womb. I was just I had like substances that shouldn't have been in my body as a baby. So I was So that's why my kidney didn't develop fully, and that's why my kidney basically failed.
Mm, that's interesting, and it's crazy that when I hear stories like I was only and we hear it not necessarily all the time or anything like that, but you hear stories. I was only born with one kidney, and it's like how I've heard one where somebody's anatomy is completely reversed. And I'm like, how does that happen? Like how is that a possibility for something to be done and and set in place, and then all of a sudden something just goes left? Like
Yeah.
you have one kidney. That's like saying I was born with 30% of a liver. Like, where does that come from? Like, you know, um, so yeah, I definitely, I feel for you. Especially the fact that you had to deal with this uh very similar like Nathan from day one of even, being born.
Hmm.
Yeah, you've had issues. I've only had to deal with it still a lot longer than the both of you, but uh, I was 4 years old when I got sick, so I definitely understand the going through school process, and everything, the growing up, having to tell your friends and not tell your friends, that I get that 100%. So yeah, we could definitely relate um in that instance. So Nathan, this question is for you. Uh what have you done over the past 16 years to keep yourself healthy, outside of medications, and so which we'll get to later? Um, do you follow like a certain diet? Do you stay physically active? Like, what do you do? Because there's not that many people that can say, I'm 15, 16, 17 years post transplant, especially kids, because kids are the most prone to rejection, because they don't want to take medications in the first place. Then they get to the point where after their transplant, they feel good. They're like, "Oh, I don't need these pills anymore." Granted, adults do it too, so I'm not
Yeah.
excusing them uh, at the same time, but um, I think kids are a little bit more prone to it. So, what have you done these last 16 years to keep yourself out of that situation?
Well, first of all, water, water, water. It's been a giant part of the last 16 years. And I would probably say the first 12, I was kind of reluctant and kind of pain in the butt. My mom, my dad used to have to drill me, people like aides at school. And then I kind of grew out of that. I was like, it's kind of just drinking water. Yeah, I can just do it. So, and then also besides water, it's kind of, I guess, the support around me, and then kind of just learning about it and wanting to be more informed, and then kind of just caring and not wanting. I just never want to miss school or like an event, and it was always like if you wash your hands, if you drink the water, if you stay relatively, you eat relatively good, and you can limit your interactions of being sick. And I was like, okay, I'll take those odds. So I think that's something I always did. And diet wise, I don't have to follow a specific diet, but of course I eat like a vegetable, a protein, a fruit, typically with like almost every meal. So I don't try to, eat all fast food, kind of just all moderate, but it's a lot of liquids, but I mean it ends up not being that bad when you ration it out throughout the day. And then of course just being smart about the meds, getting your sleep. So I think just making sure your body isn't run down. And I think my parents kind of said it perfectly. When COVID happened and everyone was doing those precautions, early COVID, I don't know about you guys, but they said it's not much different than what people with transplants were doing, washing their hands frequently, not, staying on top of people, blowing their nose, not, So I think I always kind of did that, and that helped me stay relatively healthy. So
Yeah, you said two things that stand out there. One is that you don't necessarily have a diet to follow,
Mhm.
but you make the choice to follow a specific diet, eat a certain way, to keep yourself out of that situation of being in hospitals every other month and things of that nature. And that's very important because, like you said, you don't necessarily have to watch what you eat when you have a transplant, but if you want to make sure that you live with that kidney
Yeah.
15, 20, 30 years, then 43 like George Franklin and you definitely want to make that right choice to say, I'm gonna go ahead and just eat this food. It can't be that bad. Like me and Tafaro, we've said this a number of times when it comes to nutrition is we can eat bland food at
Yeah.
the drop of a hat because we've trained ourselves to eat bland food. Yeah, food with flavor is great. Don't get me wrong. But the bland food is what's gonna keep me out of the woods.
Hmm.
That's what's gonna keep me healthy. That's what's gonna keep me
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
The other thing that you said was the fact that, your parents and the age and stuff, like they didn't necessarily force you into these habits, but they just gradually led you to them because
Yeah.
it seems like they didn't like every 3 seconds it was like water, water, water. But they did
Mhm.
it enough for it to register in your mind. Like you said, well, it can't be that bad.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
was
I
just
mean,
good?
I
It's just
remember.
drinking water.
Yeah, I remember getting like middle school. Two things. One was like my mom was like not like threatening me, but she was like, because I was annoying about the water. She's like, you're gonna have to have an aide follow you around for like seventh and eighth grade in high school. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll drink. And then also when I went to my first transplant game, I saw the like the 25-year transplant recipient
Quarter
thing.
Century
Like,
Club. Yep.
yeah, I was like, I want one of those. My
Yeah.
mom's like, well, you gotta stay, you gotta be healthy. I was like, okay, well, I want one of those. So, um, knock on wood, almost a month and 8 more years. So hopefully we'll get there. But yeah, those those couple of things have relatively kept me safe and healthy. And then of course the guidance from my parents too.
Yeah, no, you'll definitely get there, man. Just stay on the same path that you're on, and you'll be there for sure with no problem. Um, so let's talk about school life in high school. So these questions kind of go back to the both of you. Did you join any clubs or teams or anything like that? Well, I know Nathan, you're finishing high school and you're finishing college, Anthony. So um, I guess it's more of a past tense question for well, let's say college as well, Anthony. High school, college. Did you do any uh clubs or sports? And Nathan, did you do any clubs or sports in high school?
Anthony, you can go first.
Okay. Yeah. So before I like switched schools, I did band and
Mm.
I did choir, and then outside of school I did like community theater, but I also dabbled in sports. So I also tried out for like the basketball team, but that didn't work because kidney stuff or like, and then I did track 8th grade year, and I was trying to do indoor track in high school along with band and was I in choir at that time? I think so. But I also was like in like an interact club in high school as well. And there were like volunteer type clubs that I was a part of. And then after I switched schools, I just did like kind of did clubs that weren't available. So I did like um Spanish club, and that was basically it until senior year. I did like choir, swing choir, and then did like a show outside of school just to focus on my studies and also had a job. And then now in college, I'm like uh, one of the board or one of like the leaders of an HR club. I'm part of marketing club. I'm part of the theater department. I'm part of choir. I'm part of Black Student Alliance. Um, I'm basically everywhere on campus because I also work at the rec, and then I trade at the rec, and then do whatever events that seem appealing and interesting to like just meet new people as much as I can. So I'm pretty active on campus and now, and along with getting my studies and stuff in. So yeah, I've done a lot.
Do you seem like you've seen every inch of that campus since you've been there? You've named like 8 clubs, and I don't even think I can name 8 clubs at my school. So
Yeah, yeah, I've done a lot. I'm also part of like the theater honor society, so that so all of it keeps me busy, but it's fun, and so I get a lot of experience in many different areas, and it kind of helps me narrow down what I wanted to do. So yeah.
yeah, I mean that's great. You know that you're testing the waters. You're going up there, seeing what works for you, what doesn't work for you. You know, then that way that you don't make any not necessarily wrong turns, but turns that uh aren't really for you. You know, when you get done with college and things of that nature. So I mean, I commend you on taking on all those things. I'm seem like I'm taking on a lot, and then you say you got like 18 things to do in 24 hours, and I'm like, I ain't doing nothing. I'm not doing
uh,
nothing over here. So
you're getting sleep. That is what you're doing.
I wish I was getting sleep. Well, after the surgery, I will be getting some sleep for a chance. But you know, I'm just as active as you are, just in a number of different ways. And I for a bit, I wish some of that stuff had to do with more personal reasons, but you know, I most a lot of time goes to the YNOTT Foundation. A lot of stuff goes to theater out here. A lot of stuff has to do with a second chance and that show as well. So um, some of it's personal time, some of it's not. But I'm grateful for every opportunity that I have, for sure, 100%. Mr. Hart, what about you, sir? And you're on mute.
So of course, mentioned earlier in the bio, I'm a really big sports fan. I love sports. The only issue is when you have a kidney transplant, you can't play contact sports, which was kind of crushing to me at a young age.
Let's pause for a second. That is not true. Because I played football my freshman year in college.
Okay.
Sophomore year in college, I'm sorry. And that was in the time when I had my transplant.
Okay.
So, and I played football on dialysis as well. So it's not a rule that says that you can't play contact sports. What it is the deciding factor in that decision is who your transplant nephrologist is, right? You got a transplant nephrologist like I did that loves sports and loves to see kids stay active because he understands, like that's why I asked you earlier about the physical activity, is that's an important component to you staying healthy, is being physically active. So he's down for anything that has to do with being outside playing. As long as if it's a contact sport, as long as you have a way around taking that. But like for me, I played quarterback in high school, and I switched my position in college. But when I was on dialysis, because I played quarterback, I had a rib cage, and my head coach went the extra step and made this padding for me that went over my peritoneal dialysis catheter, and then my rib cage went over it. Also had a rib cage when I was in college as well, which also covered the area of the kidney, as well as I had also had an ace bandage and a padding over that as well. So as long as you can present to that person, hey, I have a way to keep this safe. Then again, the other part of that is they have to be at least 25% of the sports fan. Like they got to be able to understand why you're even coming to them asking. If they can understand it and you have a way of keeping that transplant safe, then more than likely they'll say, unless it's like, you got a heart transplant or something like that. I don't think anybody can play any contact sports whatsoever with a heart transplant. Because just getting hit the wrong way can make that go, out of whack. So, but with kidney transplants, you definitely can play sports. Again, it just has to do with who your transplant nephrologist is. And if you have a plan to keep that kidney safe. Like me, I came in with a plan. I didn't have to think about it. It was ready to come out my mouth as soon as he asked, well, what can you do to make sure you keep? I was like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I gave him a rundown. And he was like, all right. He signed my physical paperwork right there on the spot. I was like, yeah, go ahead. So it just depends on who you have as your nephrologist, really. There's no rule in the rule books or anything like that that says because you have a kidney transplant that you cannot play sports, or because you're on dialysis you can't play, contact sports. So any kids watching this that want to play contact sports that may be on dialysis or had a transplant, don't just assume that you can't play contact sports. Always confer with your physician first and talk to them, but let them know, hey, I got a plan. Whether you are at one of the top high schools in your state, they have a great department where they just constantly developing things, stuff like that, where they can make you something that can secure that kidney in place on the outside of things. Then hey, tell them that, or do what you have to do to play. I just love the game that much that wasn't nothing going to stop me from asking them. So so continue, Nathan. I'm sorry.
Well, I guess I should have reworded it. Like they didn't want me playing like contact sports at like the AAU and like the travel stuff. So I did play like rec basketball. I did have like the padding stuff. But so like 8th grade stuff, I was allowed to play rec sports, but in 8th grade, I wanted to get more involved with like the basketball program at my high school. So I started as the manager, doing like stats and stuff. So then I got into high school. I enjoyed that. I did it for the basketball team all 4 years of high school. And then I also reached out. I did it for the soccer program too. And then I also play golf as well. And then I'm also going to be helping out with the basketball team in college too. And then outside of that, I was a member of National Honor Society. And then I'm a part of it's called like the Student Boosters. We like organize stuff for the school communities for like sports and stuff and like fundraising. So I like to be involved in different levels of stuff, not just like sports, but with other parts like volunteering too, kind of just being well rounded. And I think I also want to maybe get into other parts of reaching out and like being even more well rounded in college with the different stuff too. Not just what I did in high school, but maybe a little bit other stuff too. So I'm looking forward to that stuff.
Awesome. So my next question for you is, what was taking your meds like in high school? Did people around you understand, why you were taking, X amount of pills, or did you go somewhere private to do that? Like how did the taking medication part of your day go?
I guess I'll go. I've pretty much always been a 7 and 7. So I take them 7 in the morning and 7 at night. So majority of the time, like people wouldn't see me taking meds. And then as you get older, we went to like a camp in 6th grade. So one of my teachers helped me take them because I still wasn't very independent. And the same thing happened when we went to DC. And people were like understanding because they knew my circumstances. And then now, now no one like hardly ever sees me take them in the morning because I'm never at school at 7. But like I'm either like a sporting event or something for basketball or for at the evenings, whether it's like basketball, soccer, or like a meeting or a football game. And I don't know if it's different with other people, but I'm kind of just I don't really care who sees. I just whenever I see it 7, I'll open them up, I'll drink it. Sometimes I don't take them with water. It just depends. And if anyone asks, I'm open book. I'll share. But I think that's kind of a testament of my maturity through this process, where I used to be like, kind of just feel like I don't really want anyone to see, and now I'm like, I'll just, and I guess kind of it's just being comfortable, and I think also with me being fortunate, everything's in like pill form. I don't know if some people along like my age of having it post take liquid medicine anymore, but I'm also fortunate that I do not take that many. Like my night pills are just 5 pills. I know there's a lot of other people with a lot more.
A lot
Some
more.
yeah, some have a lot more. So I'm very fortunate too that it's can fit in a pouch and it's not a lot. So I think that's also kind of made it more comfortable for me to kind of take them out in public. And I think it speaks to my maturity of being kind of more fine with my circumstances as I've gotten older. So
Yeah, you're better than me to have them in a pouch because I had a Ziploc bag. I put them in my backpack, and when I was in elementary school, I'd go to elementary and middle school. I'd go to the nurse's office. But that by high school, after dealing with it for 9, 10, 11 years, it just becomes clockwork for you at that point. Like you said about going to the doctor and stuff like that. Like I had a doctor's appointment every month before I had my transplant. So I understand the leaving early for appointments and having to go take lab work the day or week before and all that stuff. So, but yeah, with meds for me, because I had like 2 meds I had to take midday. So midday, no matter what day it is, it's on the weekend. You're at school. So, uh, 9 times out of 10, what I would do is I would wait till lunch. Like I said, lunch was at like 12:35. So in high school, what I would do is uh I go 9 times out of 10. I had a class that was by the administration building. So I would go through the administration building to the other end where people weren't coming in and going out of, and just take my meds there because I always had like a water or something like that with me. And I would just take them, get them on my bag, take them in because again I don't want to have to go through. I was a lot less open about it than I am now. Right now, I can talk to you. I can sit here and talk to you about it, talk to anybody about my situation, everything else like that. But in high school, man, like everybody doesn't grow up in like an area like Nathan does, where everybody's acceptable to whatever you're
yeah,
dealing with. Like there was a lot of people in my school. It was like after I had my transplant, I went back to school because I was a year younger than everybody else. So I went back to school after my transplant to get my diploma and everything. And even after I kind of told, because people were asking like, "Why are you here in summer school and you supposed to graduate with so and so?" And I, tell you I had a transplant, or whatever. And I had to come back and finish the classes, and like there was still some people who like kind of made fun of that, and that's the reason why I kept that to myself. And I knew especially at that time, like because I had everything, I had an anger problem. As a kid, I mean, you have to understand that sometimes it feels like it's just you, that's on this island by yourself and there's nobody else. Like, unless you went to or even knew about like kidney camps for kids and, stuff like that, like you just thought it was you, right? Like I tell a story, I didn't meet my first transplant recipient or kidney patient until the day of my transplant. and he happened to be the young man who was getting the other kidney of the person I was getting mine from. That was the first person that I met that even had kidney disease or even was getting a transplant. Out of since I was 4 years old till 17. But yeah, no, I can definitely, you a lot better than I was when it came to medication. So, but Mr. McFee.
Well, in elementary school, taking medication never really bothered me. Nobody really saw me, and if they did, I really didn't care. Um, like it's meds. It's just the fact of life. I had to take them, or else I wouldn't be
Right.
here.
Yeah.
But I would normally go in the nurse's office when I was on dialysis to take the phosphorus binders before I would have to
Mhm.
go to lunch or before we would have like our snack or whatever. But as I got into high school or whatever, and now that I'm in college, I aim to take it like 10 in the morning, 10 at night. That's basically my window. And then I have because I used to do the whole Ziploc bag thing too when I was at like rehearsals and rehearsals laying long and everything. But now I got like these little containers that I just put them in for like, oh, I'm going to be at rehearsal or somewhere past 10. I'm just going to take these meds with me, and then I just either have like a reminder on my phone to make sure that I take them at 10, because sometimes we just get busy and just forget. So I just have a pre precaution of, hey, just take your meds. But yeah, nobody really saw, nobody really cared, and I didn't really care. I was like open enough about it, but still wanted to be normal as much as possible. But I just was like, it's meds, it's whatever.
Did
that
you
was that was.
did, did you change from 10 to 10 when you went to college?
Um, I was always kind of 10 to 10, but I think I like just made it certain that it was 10 to 10
Uh,
because I just wanted because with all the college events kind of end
yeah.
around 10, so I just was like maximum. Like, if I really changed it, it wouldn't really matter. So I just kind of make it 10 to 10, maximum like 11 if I'm not back and forgot to take them with me. But yeah.
I was just asking because we're kind of looking to move mine up just because I'm not waking up at 7 for
Yeah,
college.
you're,
Especially if you don't have a
yeah,
class at 7,
Yeah.
you're not trying to get up at
exactly.
7.
Yeah, 8 a.m.s. I don't suggest doing 8 a.m. classes. No, no,
Don't
no.
do it.
Don't do it. I was thinking about doing it, and my advisor's like, don't do it. Don't. You don't want to put yourself through that
Yeah, you
because
don't. Go ahead.
I have to work at like 6 a.m. and I struggle to just do that. So I'm like, no, don't, no. So if I would raise it, um, that would probably be good, especially since most classes that you would have to take start around like 9 or like 9:25 at least for high school, and some start blatantly at 10. So like 9:30 or 9 or at 10, just like before you get in the class, just take it and then you're good to go.
Yeah, I would say if you can take that second wave of class, like you said, like not for us, I think class start like at 9:35. So that second wave of classes after 8 o'clock classes start. So if you can, especially like, are you gonna be staying on campus?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can definitely do 9:25, maybe 10 o'clock classes. I mean 10 or 11 o'clock classes to get that time to sleep, get up. You don't have to worry about eating because you got time to make breakfast or whatever and get out the house. So yeah, I agree with Anthony. Try to take those mid morning to later morning classes if you can, because also what happens is it gives you time to get started. Ain't nothing like getting to class and your brain's still not working, because it takes forever for it to start. Then by the time it starts, you're like 45 minutes in class, and you're like, I missed. everything you just said to me right now. So, you know,
Yeah.
you don't want to go through that issue. You want to make sure that you're ready to receive what the teacher is giving you, you know,
Wait.
when you get to class. So,
Yeah. And I know that I have this problem or did, but when I first started going to college is I would try to wake up at least an hour before you have to go to class because just to make sure you're wide awake and your brain's all ready to go. Like have like a small routine that may be fit for you. So you're prepared for the day because I know at least for me when I'm like waking up and I'm like, oh, I got like 10 minutes, 20 minutes to get to class. I'm like rushing everywhere and then I rush to my class and I don't really receive anything of what I'm supposed to be doing. And it will give you time to like review what you did for classes earlier in the day or like the day before. So you'll come more prepared than you need to a little bit. So,
Yeah. All right.
all right. So, you know, we know we're here because we're celebrating, you know, year 15 of the Why Not Foundation, countdown to 16. So these are just a couple of questions I'm going to ask about, uh, you know, yourself and the foundation and things of that nature. So, my first question is, what was your first encounter with the Why Not Foundation, Edward Drake?
Mine was back in summer 2016 at the transplant games at Cleveland. I met Ed there, spoke to him. I think we were on like one event together, but you know, he's just a larger than life personality, and I think that stuck out. And from the people that because me and my mom went in, not really, we didn't really know anyone from that. So I think one meeting Team Ohio, and then everyone's like, "Well, you got to meet Ed. You got to meet Ed." And then we met Ed, and Flash. I think I was in sixth grade, so that was kind of the start. And then do you remember when whatever and then back at Salt Lake
2018.
2018, okay, I met back up with Ed at Salt Lake and got to know him some more, and then last summer he started reaching out to me for the Why Not Inspired show with Anthony, and that was kind of the timeline for that. Went to Michigan State, but yeah, it's just been, I've only known him for a couple of years. I've only known Why Not for a couple of years, but it's been very impactful, and I think I'm very grateful for the connections I made. Kind of working with you guys and being able to meet you guys in person. So I think I can't wait for the future to continue to work with Why Not and everyone involved with the program.
Mr. McFee?
well, yes. I'm thinking. Oh, goodness, a long timeline here. So I met, I know, so I met, Ed, at kidney camp, I believe 2009, 2008, around there. And then he just came to camp every year until I aged out. So I slowly got to know him through that. And then after that, I kind of went through and then kind of took breaks, you know, in summer because we didn't really talk until recently, until like I got the internship and stuff like that, and met up with Victoria and Tony again and got to reconnect with them. So it's kind of like I reconnected with them and then I got to reconnect with Edward, and then it created this full circle full circle moment of working at Why Not and becoming an intern and doing this show. So it's been a very grateful experience that I think honestly I needed because it was like connecting with other kidney people again, which I kind of not purposely but distanced myself from because I just wasn't around it. Once kidney camp ended, I I just didn't really we just didn't really talk all that much. Like we talked on birthdays and stuff, but that wasn't it. That it wasn't like consistently, if you know what I mean.
Right, right. And I mean, I think Anthony, you have the kind of the longest running relationship, but I actually met Edward at the 2018 games in Salt Lake City. Also, Nathan. I think it was like right after we got done playing basketball, it was gonna walk out, and I met him, and he told me about the foundation, and immediately, like I said, I've been sick since I was 4, and there's been nothing like this. I didn't even know about Coda at that time. They've been around almost 30 years. So, um, when I heard about this foundation, I was like, I had to be a part of this because it's something that I know that is definitely needed in the pediatric space. And I remember, we took some time to kind of get back settled in at the house and everything like that. He's in Atlanta, I'm in LA, and uh, I got back in touch with him probably like early the next year in 2019, and we had kind of had conversations here and there throughout the year, and I think it was like probably like by maybe mid 2019 was when he was just like, hey man, you want to be over Southern California area and work that area for us or whatever. I was like, yeah, let's make it happen. Especially when I saw how much he's always wanted to kind of work in this area and provide for these children. So I said, who am I to not allow this to happen for the kids out here when I know, how hard they work, how hard, and when I say how hard they work, I mean to live, and sustain a life, just being a kid. Like, so I grew up as a kid with kidney disease. So I understand, the living. You guys understand the living of it. And so, I took on the road immediately, and we basically just like hit the ground running. Then of course COVID happened in 2020, and that was when we kind of really just started. I told him, President Tuss said, if we use the time that we have wisely, which was the time of COVID, things will work out great for us. 2021 we did 2 symposiums. We do our toy drive and school supply drive every year, and so that's always going on. We're adding some more components to the organization. It seems like day by day, we're always talking about something to elevate what we do as an organization. And what we're going to say next kind of goes to my next question. But to have people like you, Nathan, and you, Anthony, continue to stay within the organization, even though technically you guys are still pediatrics, but you don't live your life as pediatrics, which is something that I respect 100%. You're still assisting and helping the organization any way that you can, like doing this show, showing up to events in your area, and things like that. So my next question after saying that is, do you think that there's a place in time where you'll kind of say that, like for instance, like you all know Wills Porter, I think he moved back to Georgia, but he went through through the organization just like you guys did as kids, and became a representative for the Atlanta area. Do you guys see that as being a possibility or something? And I'm not putting pressure on you, say you got to answer right now, nothing like that. But if you think about it again, because I know, Nathan, I know how much is going to get thrown at you first year in college. Anthony, you trying to go to graduate school and things of that nature. But just really kind of a question. It really is just a question to get your minds thinking about it. Because I think that the both of you can do a lot of good, especially in the area of which this organization started in the Ohio area, especially being even the fact that you both know Victoria, and will be, I think, some great assistance for her because she's dealing with her own issues. She's dealing with her husband and things of that nature, health wise and stuff. So um, I think you two will be a great addition to be able to help in that area because we have a lot of things that we talk about consistently, and Edward's always talking about manpower. And I think that you two being added to that would be a great first step. We're always talking about bringing in, the younger generation and stuff like that. And to be able to start with you two because you understand what this organization is about, you've been through it, you know the people within it, you know how it works. Again, like I said, that would be I think a great starting point. Again, it's nothing that you have to answer right now. You think about it, everyone. You think about it. Get in touch with Edward or whoever you need to talk to about it, and then go from there. So, with that being said, what are you uh, looking forward to do within the organization in the future? Do you have any ideas of something that you may want to collaborate with the foundation on, or something that you've been, you think could be, something that can be done um, at your schools, or like, what's going on in your heads?
I guess I definitely wanna I think kind of reflecting back, I think I want to maybe be able to kind of better or like help younger kids be bridged between not knowing anyone and knowing people that have kidney transplant or transplants in general, because I was in that boat. I didn't really know anyone till the transplant games. I think having connections like that is important, and I think that would help, especially kids not and that are going through rough patches, if they have just friends that are in the same vicinity of life and that might have the same struggles. And I think also I want to help work on like donor awareness, whether that be like the driver's license, any way that we can help with organ donations. I think those two specifically kind of help to raise awareness and help kind of the kids, younger generation, because I think that's personally, I think that's the hardest part about it, especially when you have it younger. Of course, there's challenges for people that have gotten their kidney transplants older or transplants in their life older. I think the kids definitely have it tougher because they lose school, and that for some they start to lose hope just because they don't have a normal childhood. And I want to help those kids the best that I can to see hope and see the light at the end of the tunnel from their current experience.
I know at least for me, I kind of want to continue what I'm doing. I'm slowly getting more into advocacy of space of not only kidney transplants and um, younger pediatric kidney transplants advocacy, but not only just sharing my story and being more comfortable with that, and then not only that with like helping with advocating for like the other side of what could happen with transplants of like because we don't have a normal childhood, it can lead to other things of different ways of thinking of like higher levels of anxiety when it comes to kidney transplants, depression. Like I want to get on the mental health aspect of it along with that just I guess um work on just working on advocating for just different things um because there's with everybody like in this interview, this talk, we've all shared different experiences, and some of us have similar experiences, well, and some of us don't, like just because of how our transplant journeys have aligned for all of us. And so I kind of just want to lift those experiences up, and I think this is a good part. And once I get better at with my business side of things, help with get help with somebody else, try to get somebody else that can help with like marketing and such. So more people can see what Why Not does and would be so we can get more volunteers and so they can see the stories and not just see the pictures, if that makes sense.
Well, let's talk about that because that's definitely something. Me and Edward talk about a lot is getting volunteers and things of that nature. So when you're not busy, Nathan, you can join this conversation as well. You guys have the time. Let's set up a meeting and talk about that because again, at the same time, we're always looking to better and evolve the foundation into what we know that it can be. And possibly provide for other pediatric patients what the YNOTT Foundation has done for you when it comes to support and things of that nature. So with that being said, there you have it. We appreciate your time so much. This interview will definitely impact so many lives and brighten the lives of children and families all over the world. You just got the wonderful stories of Nathan Hart and Anthony McFee. We asked why not like our YouTube channel and follow us social media at Why Not Connect. That is YNOTT CONNECT, and Why Not Impact Lives Network on YouTube. We ask that you visit our website, which is ynot.org, YONOTT.org, as well as finding your hearts to donate to the foundation to assist our efforts with assisting pediatric pre and post transplant patients and their families around the country. We have a number of things that you can specifically donate for, toy drives. We have Attorney for Causes coming up. School supply drives that we do every year. We go around the country to multiple transplant departments and drop off school supplies, as well as our toy drive, which is the same thing. We drop off toys to pediatric pre and post transplant departments around the country. So now we ask you, why not become a registered organ and tissue donor today? And let the panel say, why not?
Why not?
Everybody have a wonderful day. And we look forward to seeing you for our next interview.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I am Blacksmith.